So let's talk about this. We're in the shop. Welcome. This is my GRIT Grit tire deflator. See, this is my Grit tire deflator system. Basically, it is a pretty typical valve stem removal / isolation type arrangement. I've never seen this brand before. I'm familiar with the ARB ones and forgive my voice. I have been sick for a couple days. I'm just trying to pump out this video today, but this is the tire deflator. I bought it on Amazon. It is very disappointing. As you can see, that is sticky, but more importantly, that is sticky. And so the way this works is you take this first knurled part, you screw it onto your valve stem, and then the idea is once that has a good seat, then you take this other one and rotate it counterclockwise and remove your valve core, and then you have the ability to pull that valve core out, and then it operates basically by letting air out, letting air in, letting air out, letting air in, stopping the airflow, and you have a tire gauge. They're all pretty similar. However, this one is just super sticky. It's a little better now. Last week, I'll probably throw some clips in here. I put a bunch of ATF on here. As you can see, there's kind of a black thing. I think there might be a ridge or something in the machining. And given that this was probably the cheapest one on Amazon, I have no doubt. So I was super frustrated. I've tried to use this and video me using it on a couple of occasions. And obviously, I'm not an expert at this specific tire deflation system. I have been present for and used this system. I borrowed it from other people. The one I can think of was either an Ironman version or a ARB version. And they work just fine for kind of what they are. But even this functioning, I'm not totally, if this one worked as advertised, which it kind of does. I'm super frustrated with this particular unit. But the ARB one and the Ironman one I've been exposed to worked as they were advertised. It is definitely a method to deflate your tires. It is really fast in the perspective of the fastest way to let air out of your tires is obviously to remove the valve core. This gives you a controlled way to do that. More likely than not, you're not going to lose the valve core. There's definitely some upsides with any one of these systems. I've seen some systems that I don't have experience with that are like hooking a hose to all four tires and then deflating them in a central location. That's fine, but I'll be honest, I prefer to have something in a kit like this, and I get hoses tangled up and I break stuff, so I need something simple. So this is, again, I wouldn't endorse you buying this system, but if this kind of piques your interest, probably just spend the extra $20 and get, all these things are relatively inexpensive. I think this was $15 or $20, but I think if you get a name brand one, like a pretty recognized ARB or some other similar brand, I think they're $35 or $40. So it's not a huge expenditure. Ironically, it does come with a valve core removal. So this is foreshadowing. That's a valve core removal tool, I believe. And it is my preferred method. However, I will show you the kit that I've used for the last couple of years, which I do love the packaging. These guys definitely got that right. I like stuff that's protected because, it bounces around in my car if you've ever seen a level of disorganization there. This Boulder Tools Pro Tire Deflator Kit. So what the Boulder Tools Kit is, and I've had this one for, 4 or 5 years, is it's a different style of deflator. We'll set this aside. So it comes with extra valve cores, and I've put extra valve cores in this, plus valve stems and an extra valve core tool if you were so inclined. However, the basis for the Boulder Tools Kit is, if you're in the off-road community, you'll recognize these. They're a pretty typical Ston type deflator. Basically, these are preset. You put them on your valve stem and they deflate the tire to a predetermined pressure, which can kind of have its advantages, disadvantages. For my purposes, they've worked pretty well. They're a little bit slower, but the upside is you can leave them on your wheels and drive a short distance, and then they just stop. And, well, ideally they just stop. I've never had these fail. They all seem to be pretty accurate, pretty usable. If you are looking for Ston deflators, I think these were Ston Style. That's a brand name, but basically it's the same device. They worked really well. It did come with this tire pressure gauge, which was nice and seems to be pretty accurate. I think this was another Amazon package. However, this tool I set aside, if we're being real, is how I actually deflate tires. So basically every tire shop on the planet you've ever gone into, the dude mounting your tires had some tool similar to this. And the ironic thing is, I think I paid $1.50 or $2 for this at a store, not even an off-road store, just a local Fred Meyer store. And let me show you how this kind of works here. So if you can use your imagination, basically this is a valve core. It goes into the valve stem on your tire. And what all these do, well, not all these don't, that one does, is what you're doing is you're using this tool to rotate that, unthread it, and boom, it pops out, lets air out of your tire. And one of the disadvantages to using this tool is if you're butterfingers like me, you're going to drop this in the snow, mud, whatever, sand, and lose it. That's why, and then your tire will just be flat. So there are disadvantages to this system. However, as you can see, I carry a bunch of spares, so that's not that big a deal. Anyway, you let it out. What my typical MO is, I unthread this, let the tire go flat, or let the pressure out of the tire. I kind of monitor it with the tire pressure gauge. And then when I get within about 5 PSI of what I want to be, I just pop this back in, thread it back in. It's a super quick and easy, kind of the fastest way I've found to let air pressure out of your tires. However, to each his own. I understand if you're uncomfortable with maybe mishandling these valve cores, or you want something that's a little more tried and true, then definitely I would recommend, well, not the Grit one, but a good brand. Keeping in mind, if you're like me and you're always looking for a cheap way out of stuff, sometimes it bites you. This probably was not 15 bucks well spent. I would have been better off spending $25 or $35 for that specific tool. However, I've got these other options. But I thought I would make a quick and easy video this week again. I've been kind of under the weather this week, and it's like 2 days after Christmas. I had Sunday off, Monday off. It's now Tuesday. Theoretically, I go back to work tomorrow, although I still have a fever, and you may hear it in my voice a little bit. I have a cough and stuff, so I'm probably not going back to work tomorrow. But I did want to just shoot something. I apologize for doing it in my kitchen, but I go between having chills and sweats and all kinds of stuff, so I've been under the weather. Again, my apologies for that. And that kind of concludes it. Again, if you're interested in this Boulder Tools and this Ston type deflator, it works as advertised. This system worked just fine. It takes a little bit of preparation, and if you're off-roading in a consistent area where time isn't really a factor, if all you drive on is dirt or rocky roads or snow or whatever, you can preset these. You jump out of the truck, you screw them on, and they let your tires down to a predetermined tire pressure. So there's an advantage. It's usable. You're not taking the valve core out. There's no fumbling around. This one, I would say, is not necessarily a more advanced one, but if you're super on a budget, this will definitely get the job done. I'd highly recommend getting a tire pressure gauge to go with it and carry some spare valve cores, which again, if you're buying this tool, wherever you're buying the tool, they are readily available. And if you want to go absolutely the cheapest, this is it. This is the fastest, the cheapest. It just requires a little bit of knowing what you're doing. Close that. And again, the Boulder Tools comes with a nice little case, more of a Pelican style deal. And then, like I said, if you're looking for a deflator tool, this Grit version would not be a recommend, although they come with a cool sticker. This brand wouldn't be my suggestion. I would go with more of a known off-road brand. And it kind of is what it is. They work, they're effective, they're pretty user-friendly. They're easy to use. However, this would not be the brand or the model that I would buy, just given my sample size of 1 exactly, which I consider myself pretty mechanically inclined. I just can't get this to really work as well as I wanted. Given my limited experience with using other brands of the same style, they're much easier to use. So again, I would wholly endorse like an ARB or an Ironman type product. So with that, I appreciate you watching this week. Hopefully it was fairly short and sweet. And again, I hope you have a great week, and I appreciate you joining me for this hopefully short video. It's kind of the deal killer for me. I'm not sure what's going on, why that's so difficult, or if it just needs to be worked in. I mean, I'm weird. But yeah, the valve core removal part to me is kind of a deal killer. It's just not. I'm trying to work it in here a little bit. But to me, if I'm buying a part, I don't want to have to mess with it, or a tool in this case.